talking about from what you learned about the playoff in the first 2 years, do you see a scenario in which, and I don't specifically mean just Clemson and Florida State here, but do you see a scenario in which two teams from the same conference could make it? Do you think that would even be good, or you like to see it?
That's an interesting question because I think it'll be tough. I'm not saying it won't happen because I think there's so many different scenarios because of out of your control. What if the other two leagues, all the leagues have got, the other leagues that have 2 losses? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Somebody has 2 losses and you have one who wins the league and he's in another league and he has 1 loss and it's a great game. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that scenario can't happen. I definitely do, but I think there's a lot of other mitigating factors that have to evolve into that because I don't know if we'll let it happen unless something like that happens. You know what I mean? Other mitigating factors that change.
Coach, you spent the last 2 years here basically answering a lot of questions about player behavior within your program. So I don't want to say that anything changed, but what has gone well for you guys in the last offseason?
We tried to reinforce the same things we've been doing and reiterate to the kids, and it's gotten across, and then made better decisions, and the one last year actually ended up being cleared up, which was a very good situation. But I don't say kids, not an excuse, but they're 18 to 22-year-old kids. Things are going to happen occasionally. Hopefully you've educated well enough, put them in positions well enough, and I think something we've tried to do too is educate them in scenarios of anticipating and seeing problems before they happen. We talk about, well, don't do that. Well, sometimes there's a situation that occurs and you're in the middle of it before you realize what's happening. Trying to recognize signs of, where to stay out of, what to do. Keep away from the alcohol, keep away from the drugs, keep away from all these situations. Late night, nothing good happens late. Now, college kids, tell me at college campus that college kids don't go out. And you stop it. Stop it somewhere else. But you got to continue to educate and then get them to try to identify earlier and recognize when things start to go that are bad situations. You know what I mean? And your teammates also being responsible for you. They start to see you, if something happens, tap you on the shoulder. Hey, we don't need to do that. Let's get out of here. Let's go here. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? And trying to make them more collectively responsible for each other. And it's a constant effort all the time.
Is that kind of what Dalvin did with taking, he was clear of that last year, but
yes.
He's become a leader of like a
He did. And then, he was the one, that's what he would see. He was the one that was trying to do that in the original way and then got involved in it. But I said, how you do that can be better. You know what I'm saying? And that's always something you're constantly working on. And you got to educate the next group because as they roll out, hopefully, they'll learn from the groups before.
You feel like the conference has gotten a lot stronger over the last several years, especially with the new coaching hires the last 2?
I definitely do. I've never felt this league was everybody says it's been a great league. Besides the last year or 2, we were always 1 and 2 with the SEC and players drafted, guys out there in pro ball, the number of great quarterbacks, the number of great players. This league has always been an outstanding league. And everybody say I coached in the other league for 13 years. So nobody in here or no guy on no panels are more of an expert on it than I am. I promise you. And I know it. It's a great ball in this league.
How does the coaching staff look at a 10-win season, given the standards you talked? I know you said you guys were relevant. I think you're beyond that. But a 10-win season compared to the past successes, how do you learn?
We were, again, not satisfied, but we understood and we're very players accomplished. And you got to be careful of bashing and doing things because how much better are you really going to do? You ain't going to win them all the time. We all strive for it. That's just the nature of the beast. But we want to be up there as much as we can, and we're not satisfied, but we understand we're still very successful, and it still lays groundwork for the future of what we want to do, but it still gives a hunger and a chip on your shoulder to get back to the top and stay on the top.
How were you introduced to Rick Trickett? You look at him, he doesn't seem like a typical offensive line coach. How did you actually come across him?
He and I coached together at Auburn back in 1993.
Okay.
We got hired on the same staff. Now, he's from West Virginia, too. We never knew each other, but we got picked up. He was coming from Starkville. I was coming from Birmingham. They stopped and picked me up on a plane. After they picked him up, we flew into Auburn. That's the first time I was ever introduced to him. And then we were on the staff right away. And he and I, we had a lot of mutual ideas and the way we thought of things very similar, and we hit it off right off the bat.
He's been a very good offensive line coach, but when you first saw him and you found out what position he was coaching, were you just kind of
because I've been a coach long enough to know people come in all different shapes and sizes and what they do. Players do, coaches do, and after you saw him coach for a minute and listened to him talk, you knew he knew what he was talking about.
Do you feel like defending tempo is kind of over? Is there a big difference when it comes to pace of play when an offense you're facing? How do you feel about that?
I think there is. It's something you definitely have to prepare for because the whole thing at tempo, most of them don't do tons of stuff. It's based on how fast you go. And sometimes they're in a bad place too. They go so fast they run bad plays. But they're based on trying to get lined up before you get lined up, and make your guys tired, wear you down, make your eye discipline. I'm okay. It's how you, just like when you first get somewhere, you sit down and it takes you a second to get your bearings. That's a lot of the philosophies those are based on. But they're all everybody has their own tweak and turn about how they do it and what they do and the tempos they do it. But it's here to stay, and we're going to have to. We practice against it, work on it all the time. But it's actually become as much a norm now as not.
Do you guys look at analytics when it comes to tempo? Is that something you?
Oh yeah, the success you have, what you don't have, teams have gotten you, or what they've gotten you on, or what is there certain field positions they do better on, certain all that. We analyze. We got too many analytics sometimes.
Jimbo, for all the teams that do run spread and up tempo, a lot of the teams that are consistently top 25, it's a little more lean, maybe not more pro style, but there's probably more pro style teams within that top 25 than maybe the rest of the country. Is that strictly because those spread teams are trying to make up for the talent gap, or why do you think?
I think it is. I think it's a lot of time where speed, talent, where you can't match up physically. You know what I mean? And then you've taken some teams who have matched up physically and do it. But at the same time, people say, well, that's the answer. Why don't everybody do it? Well, there's limitations to that, too. And at the end of the day, how many national championships have they won? I mean, there's an argument both ways. But it says this, but they're going to win some.
Yeah.
They're going to win their share eventually. I mean, it's all good. It's just what you believe in your philosophy is and what you've had success in. There's not a right. It's like saying who's the best. You argue over, who's is Lawrence Taylor or Dick Butkus, two of the great. You could have that argument 100 times. Who's the greatest quarterback? Dan Marino, John Elway. It's all opinion. And if you believe in it and the facts you got and you're having success with it, why are you going to change? And it's also what you know. You know what I'm saying? I honestly think this. I think it's easier to go from pro to no huddle than it is no huddle to pro.
Why is that?
I think there's a lot more teaching involved. I think there's a lot more concepts and teaching and the protections and the sights and the hots and a lot of different things in the passing game.
And you've been on the record before saying that you think the offense that you run being a lot of pro style actually makes it that it's harder for people to kind of defend you guys because they go up against so much spread.
Well, I mean, we're becoming like the wishbone. When you go against the wishbone, it's not normal. You go against us, I've seen two-back things, taking on two-back runs, the physicality of how you play defense, how you play pro-style things. I mean, I think it helps us in that regard.
Jimbo, some of the upcoming rule changes, one of them, the replay official can now stop play. They're also in the ACC experiment going to have a replay official in Greensboro involved in the whole thing. Are you a little concerned? I mean, you want better calls, but at the same point, slowing down the game.
I am a little, but at the end of the day, I want it right. Because there's too much. There's too many jobs on the line, too much money on the line we got $1 billion business. We can't get a call right. I mean, I know and we could fix it right there very quickly with all the technology and all this stuff we have. And I've seen too many, and I think there's too many jobs in line. I mean, careers change on missed calls. And I mean, that's human nature of it, but if you can fix them, I think we should fix them.
If there's a rule you would like to see instituted that's maybe not there on you've talked a lot about the 3 yards downfield blocking. Is that the one that you would probably, if you were to make a rule change?
I think it's almost impossible for the officials to call. You put them in a bind. If you're down the field, it's a run. If you're behind the line, it's a pass. That's been football forever. I mean, you're putting these defensive. You wonder why the offensive. How do you use a safety reading when a guard's releasing, a tackle's releasing, and it's getting downfield and the ball hitting already out of the guy's hands, and they're doing it so late? Tell me how you teach. That's not how you teach, and that ain't how pro football's played.
Do you want that to be a reviewable play? I mean, some coaches have said that, but then you're slowing down the game potentially by.
How about getting it right? I mean, you're right. I mean, you do get frustrated, but at the end of the day, you get it right. I mean, but then that's hard to review because you have to review all the things. I mean, it's craziness. I want you to do it at all, but I mean, it's never going to be that way. So.
Ole Miss had one of the more.
We're just practicing talking.
Ole Miss had one of the more egregious one of those in that Alabama game. Since you guys
played them early in
the year, do you spend more time with your defense leading up to that game?
Well, we face a lot of teams that do it.
Yes, they do it.
So it's just become more of the norm. You know what I'm saying? But you just can hope it doesn't affect it that way.
Is this a situation of a little bit of if you can't beat them or if you can't get the rule change, join them a little bit where you're.
You can, but philosophically, it changes what you do. I mean, and at the end of the day, they say, well, you want to do that, but in 6 years we're the second winningest team in college football.
As far as your team is
so why do we want? I mean, you may implement a little bit of it, but
as far as your team is concerned, what do you still want to learn about your team in the Ole Miss opener there?
A lot. I think there's, are we going to take that championship? There's still a lot of guys, as much as we have experienced it, need to play at a championship level and take a different, even as good as they played, take that next step to playing at elite level. You know what I'm saying? And great intensity, and if it develops the characteristics, the habits, the personality of a championship quality football team, and it doesn't always have to have all of them by that first thing, but if it has the signs of it and it's heading in the right direction through camp, and there's still a lot of questions, and we don't know how good our team's going to be, and it's based on, again, they're like children. They all evolve with personalities and character, work ethic and toughness, and they have all those characteristics.
It's safe to say that DeMarcus is pretty confident in this defensive group, saying it could be one of the school's best ever. Do you share his enthusiasm with this?
Yeah, and I'm glad. I'm going to tell you what, if I was playing, that's the way I always looked at it. I always thought when I walked on the field we was going to win, and it was a bet. I mean, if they don't think it, you do what you think you do. If you don't think it ain't going to happen. And they have a chance to be a good group. Well, we'll wait and see, but I like his mindset. I really do.
Coach, plenty of kids on your team with a lot of experience. Can you give us insight into maybe a couple of younger guys that aren't getting much media attention that have impressed you a lot during camp and you expect to impact season?
Let me think about that. I think Jaquez is a young running back, has a chance. I think Nooney, Campbell, Tate, some of those guys in there. Maven Sanders has a chance as a tight end. Some of our young linemen, Minshew, and moving Ricky Leonard back over there. Defensively, DeMarcus Christmas, I think, has a chance. Again, seeing Sweat just keep evolving. You still got getting Trey Marshall back. Nobody still talks about him. That guy was a starter for half the season, playing real good. Marquez, he gets some, but not a lot. I'm anxious to see him take that next step. There's still some. We got quite a few, even more than that. That's just off the top of my head. And then again, our young kickers. We are young kickers and punters now, and that's going to be critical this year.
With so much young talent, is your message of every spot being open especially true this year?
It's always true. That's the way we play every day. It's always going to be that way. If you don't want to play, then we'll replace you. And I think it's the way you have to be. And it's not a threat. It's just a standard. And there's a difference.
You say a lot
but yeah.
You say a lot that you like to hear how the players feel about other players in the team.
Yes.
They want to play with the best. So what's been the feedback you've gotten on Francois back this summer?
But both he and Sean have gotten rave reviews. He and Sean both have gotten rave reviews. At times say, well, Sean maybe a little better coach, and others say, well, Francois is coming back. And but that's the way you want it. The back and forth in the competition. It's been hearing the other players. All the guys have been pleased with both of them.
When I talked to his high school coach, I think it was just before spring, he said DeAndre's not an overly vocal guy, and you might have said the same thing.
He's not.
Becoming more of a voice rather than the huddle in the locker room. Have you heard?
Well, here's when that's going to happen.
Without
when you
ideas.
realize you're the guy and your confidence grows. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to be. As you feel comfortable in your shoes and realize you're the guy, even like Dalvin early. Dalvin was quiet. Now Dalvin's as vocal as anybody. But he realizes his role, what he's doing, and as his confidence grows and he has success.
Jimbo, you mentioned Rick Leonard earlier. You've had a really good success history with guys moving to positions like Xavier Rhodes, obviously Cameron Irvin a couple years ago. Now when you start discussing that with the player, is there a little bit more their eyes open up because
they do? They do. And I use those examples, from Carlos and other guys, and we use those examples with those guys, and it does give you credibility. But then again, you got to go back and explain why you think it is to them, and every situation is unique. But they've been very open to it.
And Rick Leonard, so far, it looks like it's worked out.
He's done really well, and he's weighing about 367 pounds right now too.
Jimbo, what do you think of the talent level of Louisville and Lamar Jackson?
Oh, shoot. Lamar is awesome. We recruited Lamar. Lamar is dynamic. Throw it, run it, play, make plays with his leg, arm, mind, does it all. And Louisville has great players. Like that couple years ago, we had that great game up there. Well, y'all didn't play good. Yeah, I had 11 guys drafted. Yeah, they had 10. And they got about 18 starters coming back in this year's group. And Bobby Petrino's a great football coach. Todd Grantham does a great job on defense. They're a well-coached team with good players.
You know what really good special teams look like, within the locker room, on a practice field. Do you look around your locker room on your practice field and go, okay, yeah, I know I've got a team that can beat Clemson this year. I know I've got a team that can get it done at the end of the year this year. Can you tell that yet? Can you observe
No, I don't think you can do that. Do we have the capabilities of? Yes. We have the capabilities of winning every game on our schedule. And we have the talent levels, but will we have the personality, the dynamic, the work ethic, and the unity and that chemistry? Because it's not always about the best 11 players. It's the best 11 that play together. You know what I'm saying? Accept roles. Who's accept this role? Who does those things? And who's willing to do all the little dirty work things here and there that have guys have success and not be selfish, and do selfish things and taking on a double team, for instance, a D tackle instead of worry about making a sack or making a play. And being able to block as a receiver, and I'm not getting the ball, but I'm still blocking while Dalvin's running, or vice versa. Those things are all there. But can we be? Yes, we can be as good as anybody in the country. I totally believe that.